when you came up with this concept, right? Did you at one point said, I don't know, maybe this is not a good idea? Were you expecting a lot of people to be interested?
Well, a few customers had said, this is something we want to see. So we kind of bounced around that idea and ultimately decided, yeah, there was some viability here. There was a chance that this could work. And so what we try to do before we release anything is do a little bit of market research. And so we did the design work, because the design work it's very expensive also, but it's not quite as expensive as taking that next leap to make the molds, the actual tools that make the parts. And so what we did is we did a kind of a prototype and a 3D CAD model of it, just quick drawing, and we just put it out there just to see what kind of reaction it would get. And we were pretty far along. Even it wasn't just a quick napkin sketch that we did. We had been working on it for hundreds, maybe thousands of hours to get it to the point that we were when we released it. But we didn't want to spend, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars on a tool if we didn't know that there was going to be some demand. So we just put the pictures out there, and within a few days, it was everywhere, and we couldn't believe it. We were absolutely blown away by the response. And yeah, and thank you. We didn't know that it was going to do what it did. We really didn't. We thought, maybe if it got an okay reaction, because we were already pretty far along. We had already invested quite a bit just to get it to that point. And we thought, okay, if we can get, a few hundred likes on Facebook or something, that would be huge. That would be more than enough. That's more than most of our other stuff does. And I mean, within a week, I think we'd added 1,000 people to our Facebook page, and it was being shared all over the internet. And the Firearm blog picked us up, and a bunch of other sites, picked us up. And you were definitely the first, before we even made a video talking about it. You had the first, hey guys, this is coming out. So having guys like you who are up there on YouTube updating everybody, keeping them posted, that's huge, and that really helps us out a lot. And that's why I thought it'd be kind of fun to come on here with you. And
A lot of people since then have been asking, okay, what's up? What's going on? Why has there been such a delay? Was it that you were not expecting a lot of people to get interested or to be interested, and you kind of took the slow approach as opposed to, wow, this is going to take off. Let me hurry up.
Sure. Yeah. No, I mean, it's hard to give the impression or to convey to people that we are absolutely going 100% full steam on this. This isn't just like a little hobby project. I mean, this is how I eat. This is how I feed, my family. Like I said, my brother works here. And obviously we want to build lives together. He's married. I'm not yet, but he is married. And so he's got, a mortgage, and I've got a mortgage, and, there's all kinds of things. This is our livelihood. This is not just a fun little thing that we're doing on the weekends. It maybe seems that way. And a lot of that's because I think ultimately what we did is we let people in kind of on the secret before a lot of other companies would. So you guys maybe are looking at other companies and you're going, well, geez, Magpul announced a new stock earlier this year, and now 6 months later, here it is. Well, part of that's because they had been working on it for who knows how long before that. And so in that time, that's when a lot of the things that can go wrong go wrong. Basically, what takes the longest, the biggest amount of time is going from a complete design, which when you guys kind of got privy to the information that we were coming out with it, we were probably in the last stages of the design. We had just finished the prototype shortly after we posted the first images, the first screenshots of the 3D model. And then from there, we did a lot of revolutions before we even got to tooling on the 3D printed parts, because that's where you can really start to see, if you're going to run into issues, there's going to be fit problems, things line up the way they're supposed to, until we finally got it where we were comfortable. But even that's not 100% accurate, because a 3D model, for those of you who have ever played with 3D model material, it's not a true representation of what you're really going to get. Finally, when you get to the tooling, you get the first shots, and that's always the most fun. And we, of course, posted right away when we had the first samples. Everything looked really good. We found a few issues that when we were using it over time, just little stuff comes up, and it's not even, a lot of it's not necessarily major, that, it's something where the whole thing's going to fall apart or explode or something. It's just maybe, we want to change the angle of something a little bit, or add a new rib inside the gun or something, just something little that, the problem is once you find that, you have to bring that back to the designer. The designer updates the files. The designer sends them to the mold shop. The mold shop cuts the new rib or whatever in the tool, the actual mold, and then from there it goes back to our molding shop. And then they sample the parts, and then the process starts over again. So if you do this, 2, 3, 4 times, of checking for corrections, between each one of those steps, there might be a couple of weeks. And so that's really where, the biggest delays come from. But when you're talking about a bullpup stock, especially one with the scope of what we're trying to do with this one, we're talking about a whole new magazine release design, a whole new charging handle design, the whole breakdown process, the whole way that it comes apart. There's a whole buffer system that I don't think anybody really, they maybe know that it's in there, but nobody knows what's involved in it because we haven't really revealed any information about it yet. But there's a buffer system in the back of the stock, and that's designed to take the recoil out of shooting it, because the high point carbine is actually somewhat sensitive to recoil. The TS model has that recoil pad at the back of it. The recoil pad is as much for the shooter as it is for the gun itself. It does mitigate recoil for the shooter. You maybe notice it takes some of the shot out of it, but a lot of that is for the actual firearm's internal components to protect them from the impact, because it's straight blowback. There's nothing else kind of holding the gun together. It's not like an AR-15 or an AK where you've got locking lugs that keep the gun closed until it it's completely the pressure is out of the gun. It's on blowback, so it's taking basically all the energy out of all the momentum of the bullet.
Do you feel that the carbine was ugly, and was that the reason why you decided to come up with a conversion kit for it?
Aesthetically, I will say the first stocks, the very first high point carbines, pre-TS models, were interesting. Well, interesting to say the least. No, but I
can say it for you. It was just hideous.
Yeah, no, they were definitely a unique firearm. And they did what they needed to do, and the TS models, I think, have really, even stepped up above it. Our job selling this stock would be much easier if it weren't for the TS model, because the TS model is not a bad looking gun at all. And no, the reason that we chose the high point carbine was not. It's actually to the credit of High Point. It's not at all about their looks. The reason that we picked the High Point carbine was mostly because of a couple of key factors. The cost, expense was a big one, because we're in the bullpup market, and bullpups are more expensive, just generally speaking. And you can see that across. It doesn't matter where you look. A bullpup shotgun is going to cost about twice as much as a comparable shotgun in the long gun form. Likewise with something in the AR, the sporting rifle type industry, like an AR versus, say, the Tavor, right? You're looking at a pretty basic AR you can get for $600-700 right now, and a Tavor you're going to be at $1,500-1,600 pretty easily. So everything is, and the Tavor is probably one of the more affordable of the bullpup 223s. You can go up to like the FS 2000 or the MSR. Some of those newer designs. Even the Tavor is fairly new, but and you're talking 2,000 or more for something like that. So you could be easily 3-4 times what the price of a standard gun in the similar class would be. And so that's kind of with the bullpups. Like I said, we are redesigning almost every working component of the gun, other than some of the components of the action. It's a new trigger in a sense, new charging handle, recoil, all that stuff. And so the idea is trying to keep it as cost efficient as possible. If we can keep our stock as close to that 250 mark as we can, and the gun itself is around that 250 mark, that means for $500 you're in a pistol caliber bullpup, which really, as far as currently markedly available firearms, you're looking at maybe the Jard is the next closest one, and that's $1,000 give or take. So we're still under brand new. If you didn't even own the High Point before, or maybe you did, and then you're kind of already ahead that way. But if you're just buying your first High Point for the first time, and you're buying our stock for the first time, you're at $500, and you're already well ahead of the next closest pistol caliber carbine that's a bullpup. And so cost was a big one. Reliability was another big one, why we chose the High Point carbine. They're obviously fabulous, and everyone who actually owns them will attest to that. And if for whatever reason you got a lemon, what's really cool about High Point is you can send it right back to them, and they're gonna do whatever they can to make it work for you, and make sure that you get a good a reliable firearm. And so High Point was a kind of a no-brainer decision.
Now, seeing how much interest people have shown, has High Point noticed this, and have they even approached you? Do you foresee something like this going on? Maybe like a collaboration?
Yeah, no, I can't speak for them. I am 100% open to working with them, and I would love to, sit down and maybe work out some type of a partnership. I know that they're very busy right now with a lot of their stuff, and so we've talked a little bit back and forth with them, just trying to make sure that we're not stepping on their toes, and I mean, we've had some constructive conversations. We might down the road try to partner with them if at all possible. It's hard to say.
I
Just
just have talk, right? At
oh
least.
yeah, we talked. Yeah, we talked back and forth. Yep. We exchanged. I think actually a few days after they or we announced that we were coming out with it, they had sent an email or a Facebook message, excuse me, through our Facebook page, and we just started talking a little bit back and forth about what we were looking at and stuff. They want to evaluate the stock when we have a done one. So we will be sending them one of those when we have one ready. We're very very close. I'll pull this out here. I did bring this along. I think this is the first time I've ever had this on camera. With this is like done. It's got the I don't know if you can see here. It has the blacked out rails. So we just had these anodized a little bit ago here. So this is like I would say 99%. There's maybe a few parts that aren't production on it yet. But yeah, you're looking at like essentially what will be the final units that are going out. And so we just got one of these together a little bit ago here.
Good to hear. At least you guys are talking. That's a good thing. Do you see this as a new market for the High Point? Perhaps even
Yeah,
some competition from other companies?
sure. Yeah. No, I think that it maybe opens the door a little bit, and we're not the first ones through that door. The like I said, the ATI stock that's kind of CX4 Storm, inspired, I guess. That one was probably the first one that kind of made the idea of an aftermarket stock for the High Point a viable idea. Based on our conversations with High Point, they haven't seen one yet, so they don't know. They're not sure what it will do, and that's really what we spent a lot of our time doing is taking a bunch of different High Points, all different calibers, different generations. The pre TS, the post TS, or the current TS models of the carbine, and so we're trying to just do everything that we can to make sure that if you put this on your gun, you're not going to have any issues. And so we really want High Point's blessing on it. But I understand too that they're maybe not going to want to take on the risk associated with. They don't want to necessarily put their name on our stock and say, yeah, we'll back. If you take some other companies, third parties stock and put it on our gun, I can completely understand why they would say, it's not worth the risk for us to take that on. I definitely hope they'll consider it once they get one, if they like what we've done, and they can tell that we did our homework and made sure that we have a safe stock. But otherwise, yeah, there is that potential too that it would possibly void the warranty, and we just don't know until we get them out there. So that's kind of one of those things too that people need to keep in mind. We don't want to, we definitely don't want to advertise our stock as something that it's not. And right now, we don't have High Point's official seal, but like I said, they also haven't seen one yet, so we don't know until they can get their hands on one. We won't have an answer for our customers either, unfortunately. But we're trying to get that as soon as we can, and that'll be definitely one of the next big steps that we take. Will be getting one in their hands for final approval. So
With your almost final product that you have on you right now, does that final stock or conversion kit voids the warranty as far as you concerned?
as far as I know, we'll put it this way: I don't like what I have here. According to what we've heard, as of right now, a third party stock will void the warranty as far as what we know. That's all I know, because again, they haven't had one yet to test, and so until we get it in their hands and they give us the official thumbs up or thumbs down, I don't want to say yes, because this could be out here for a long time. So I don't want to say yes, it's going to void the warranty, or no, it won't void the warranty. We really just want to get one in their hands. That said, based on what I have here, what we've seen, we've shot thousands and thousands and thousands of rounds out of these stocks, and we haven't had any issues to the firearm. We've had issues with with our stock where we'll find something that doesn't quite work the way we want, and that's why we took the time that we did to make sure that we could make those corrections before we get to market. But as far as the gun has been concerned, it's been really, really interesting to see, having a firearm like this where it is something to be mindful of. Potential damage to the firearm. So we've been very, very careful. We pour over it every time we take it to the range. We shoot a couple thousand rounds through it or whatever. Then we take the gun apart just to see, okay, is there anything going on here? Anything that causes any concern that we need to be watching out for? And so far, all of the guns that we put in our stock are still functioning fine. There hasn't been any issues. And I really don't know. Like I said, I kind of lost track how many rounds that we've shot through them, but it's been a lot. We'll put it that way. We want to make sure that it's thorough and it's tested to to the peak levels that it could be. So
if High Point says, "Listen, I think that the stock looks good, but we cannot give it the thumbs up," do you think that's going to affect HTA in releasing this product in the future?
Oh, I mean, as far as the release goes, no, I don't think it'll affect the release. I mean, we're gonna send them out. We're at the point now too where we're so far into it that we really there's so much momentum, we don't have a choice but to put it out there. So I don't think that necessarily would be a deal breaker. It's cool that High Point has a philosophy where they will replace things for free for the rest of your life, and we would love to keep that tradition going. But again, that said, as long as the gun performs to a level that beyond what most people will ever shoot it in their lifetime anyway, then that's really what we're trying to design and make with our stock, is something that's going to be reliable for practical use, that they'll never have to really worry about it damaging the gun or anything like that.
Now, what can you tell us about the final product as far as ergonomics, the weight of the stock, or the dimensions?
Sure. Yeah. So, all right. Well, I'll bring it back on camera here. The real star of the show here. All right. So, from end to end, so from buttstock to muzzle, and this is the 9mm version. This is 26.1 inches. So this is the federal minimum for overall length to avoid the NFA short-barreled rifle classification. So that's probably the most important dimension, the one that most people will want to know and be aware of. You don't need any other, as far as I know, there's some states that you maybe would need some type of a barrel extension, and we are working on states like California. I'm trying to think, there's another one out east, I think, that has a 30-inch minimum overall length. And so we are working on something that would be like essentially a thread-on adapter that you'd have to bring to a gunsmith, and they would weld it on for you. And then that would get you to the necessary length. So that's probably, again, the most important dimension. Up and down from the bottom of the grip to the top of the rail. That's about 8 inches if memory serves. And let's see here, the weight on it, on the done, like a complete unit, is I think around 7 pounds, which is for the 9mm, which is just a little bit over the TS model. It is actually a fair amount more than the pre-TS model, the classic 995, and that's because the classic 995 was such a stripped down stock. There was hardly anything on it, and so it's maybe about a pound more than that one. But it's right in the zone. It's within like a half pound or less of the TS model. And the same is true with the 4045. I believe that's almost 8 for the 4045, but that's because the 40 and the 45 are quite a bit heavier guns to begin with. The slides are heavier, the barrels are heavier, and so see, when you factor that in, it comes out very close to the factory setups for both. Like I said, it's maybe a shade over, but again, the big advantage to the bullpup is, even though it's maybe slightly heavier or close, the weight distribution is almost perfect. It's basically, it's a little bit back heavy, if anything. And so that's nice. When you put it into your shoulder, you're distributing the weight so much more efficiently across your body, where your shoulder's taking some of the weight. You're not fighting to keep the back end, the butt end of the gun from going up, which is what it would normally do when you'd have a heavy barrel, out in front of you. It would tend to rotate the barrel or the butt of the stock up. Now, if anything, it's almost kind of nestling into my shoulder naturally, because the weight is a little bit favored towards the back. So it's very easy to keep the front end up. And so, yeah, it's very comfortable. It's very balanced. That's one of the big advantages to the bullpup design. This one doesn't have on it. It will come with it, but this one doesn't have on it the shell deflector. So it will be left-hand friendly. If you are a left-hand user, there'll be a deflector that comes with it. And the way that it's located, the shell deflector is located, or the ejection port, excuse me, is located, is far enough forward that for most people it won't pose an issue anyway. But the deflector gives you one more layer of protection to make sure that that you're not going to have any issues. And then the charging handle is pretty interesting. I'll see if I can get this in here. So I can actually charge from the. See if I can do this here. I can charge from the left side of the gun here, or the right side of the gun. Now, see if you can maybe see. There's a charging handle left and right.
Yeah,
Now,
some sort of like wing design.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So those are the two charging handles. It's going to come with just one, and then they're reversible. You can switch them between either side, but we will probably be selling. If you want a second one, if you want to have one on both sides at all times, you can do that. So that'll be reversible. And then the safety up front here, we've got kind of the toggle safety that's on our previous stock. It's just right below the trigger. It's ambidextrous. It's pretty nice for that. And then probably the coolest part of this entire stock, in my opinion, is the magazine release. And the magazine release is also ambidextrous. It's at the front here, and I'll see if I can get this in. I don't know if you can see right there. That is the magazine release. And so as I push forward with my trigger finger, you maybe be firing, bam, 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 bam. And then when you're ready to take the magazine out, you push forward with your trigger finger, and that will drop the magazine from the back here. So you don't have, like some bullpups, you'll have a paddle here, something that you grab and then pull the magazine out. This you can do with your firing hand, kind of like you could with an AR-15. So it's got a very ergonomic magazine change to it by most bullpup standards that would have like I said, some type of paddle or button at the back of the stock. So that's pretty handy. And so we spent a lot of time getting that dialed in to where we were comfortable with how that functioned and how it performed. And now we're very pleased with that part, and I think it is probably one of the pinnacle features of the stock. That and the takedown, which of course is the other big one, and that's probably the one that we get the most comments on. And for those of you who haven't seen it, I'll just do a quick little demo here. There's a takedown latch right here. This, and kind of like a Glock almost, but sideways. So it's a little stamped piece. So pull that down, and then this lower pin rail. It's machined aluminum, but this is on a cam. And so when you rotate this out of the way, it's actually taking pressure off of the barrel. So it's normally it's pinching the barrel to kind of give us a nice zero off of the this upper rail is attached through the stock to the barrel now when you clamp this down. So when you unclamp it, it's kind of releasing everything, and that allows you to actually slide the upper assembly off the lower. And so that's the operation there for disassembly. So it'll actually be quite a bit easier to take apart and to service, especially in the field if you don't have tools and stuff, than even the TS model with what they like the new takedown pins and everything that they did. So there's definitely some advantages to it over the basic high point carbine as you'd find it in the store.
All right, so
the question. I feel like I know what it's going to be.
Now, when are we going to be able to buy one? And were you able to meet the final price that you were originally looking at?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll tackle the second half of that question first. And people think that's probably high or whatever, and I understand that because they go, well, it's for a $250 gun, but for our purposes, for the design and construction purposes, it doesn't really matter what gun it goes on. I've often responded to people who mention that in a comment. It's like, we don't go to our suppliers and say, well, this is for a cheap gun, so charge us less. It doesn't work that way. They learned a lot about what not to do, so we were able to save a little bit of money that way. And we actually, even though it costs more to make it, we can make them more efficiently now. And so we've kind of passed some of those savings on rather than charging more for the stock. Like I said, we did it more efficiently. And so initially we knew it was going to be between $200 and $300 And after kind of reviewing everything, we decided, okay, well, let's just split it right down the middle. We know we can hit that number, safely. We can say that for sure that we can hit $249.99. We use high quality materials. We use some probably unnecessarily high quality materials in some places, like the aluminum rail, for instance. Like the main optics rail is all CNC machined aluminum. Again, that lower rail is CNC aluminum. There's a lot of there's aluminum bedding blocks that anchor the whole action together when you put your takedown pins through it. So there's a lot of machine components. There's a lot of metal components on these, and then the polymer we're using is pretty high end stuff for the defense industry. So it's all those things that add up to a fairly expensive product. But when you get it, you'll be able to tell that we put a lot into it. It's not something that we just cobbled together with stuff we found lying around. It's it will be something that you guys will want to take out at the range, and that's really, like I said, what we're after is we want a cool product that people are proud of, and so yeah, we think we can hit that 250 range. That's what we're kind of guaranteeing to start, and then it might go higher than that over time. We might do an introductory, or that might be the introductory price, and then it might go up depending on what our production costs are. But for everybody who's on our mailing list, and that's kind of how people can get them if they want to get one. Is to sign up for our newsletter. It's in the lower left-hand corner of our website. It says like HTA newsletter, and there's a text bar. Just type in your email address. What that does is that puts you on a list of everybody that's interested in getting one. And then what we're going to do is we're going to email people in the order that they signed up, and it'll have information on how to purchase at that time. You can basically, it'll be like a link that'll take you to a secure part of our page that you can only access from that link. And then that's how we'll be able to meter who gets a stock and when, because otherwise if we just put them up on the website, you'd be, everyone would be circling like vultures just waiting for the chance to purchase one. And so we want to do it fair, and people there, like you've been waiting for a long time. And so we want to reward the people that have been patient by holding their spots, and you don't have to put any money down or anything, just an email address. And those first emails, to get in a roundabout way back to your first question, those first emails, we are hoping, this is not a promise, but we are hoping that the release of those first emails will be sometime later this month or early in March, if all goes well. Like I said, we are in production now. We've got a lot of the production parts here that we're doing tests on, making sure that they function the way they're supposed to. And so far, like I said, everything has gone really, really well. And so we're now just kind of waiting on everything to wrap up, and then we'll start assembly. And assembly should take maybe a week or two to get the first batch of them done, and then that first batch of emails will go out. So no, it's a very exciting time. It's been a very stressful time, busy time. It always is right before a release like this, and it's kind of daunting too. We see the list of customers that are there to get them, and you just take one day at a time and slog through as many as you can and try to get them out. So no, we appreciate everybody who's bearing with us, who's kept the faith and knows that we're coming. It really means the world to us, and I can't say thank you enough, and how grateful everyone here is. So thank you guys for everything, and especially you too. Right?
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And again, this is from, I'm looking at it from the point of view of someone who just simply loves anything that goes bang, bang, bang. I see a lot of people saying, oh, well, it's not worth it. It's cost as much as the gun. But the way I see it, and again, I just want to say something first. Hightower Armory is not endorsing me. Andy is not giving me anything. What I'm saying now is from the point of view of like a business mentality. When you buy something, whether it is for your Kia Optima or your Mercedes E-Class, you could buy the same product, but if they are made in the same quality for both cars, they're both are going to be expensive. Now,
right.
You buy it for the Mercedes E-Class, you're not going to see it as much expensive because the car itself is already expensive. But if you buy in the same quality, the same material, whatever it is that you're buying for a Kia Optima, then yes, you're going to see it as being expensive. But at the same time, you are buying something that has a lot of quality. And hopefully that's what I'm actually expecting, that this is going to be something that it's going to be a game changer. It's not going to be something that is just going to break down after the first couple of shots.
Right.
All right. So I only have maybe one or two more questions, and it's a little bit of information because Also, I mean, you guys mostly sell the stock conversion kit for the Ruger 1022.
Yep.
So, what I would like to know is, what do you have when it comes to additional information for those? Any new designs, perhaps, for the Ruger 1022?
Yeah, so nothing new. In fact, I actually have. Let me see here. All right, I got this here for those of us who don't know. Oh, hello. Who's this?
You gotta say hi.
I don't say that.
Can I finish this? That's the crazy one.
The great, the heartbreaker, huh?
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, no. This is for those of your viewers who haven't seen or don't know about us. This is our 1022 conversion. This is one of our 1022 barrels in there. Also, it doesn't need to go in our conversion, but that's another thing we sell is barrels, magazines. We do 1022 magazines. This one here doesn't have one of the magazines in it, but this one has our magazine coupler that links two time round magazines together. So these are kind of some of the things too that we might start doing for the high point carbine at some point. After we got the stock out, that's kind of what we did with the Ruger 1022. We got our feet wet, kind of felt out the market, saw what was out there, and then took our brand recognition. We're still small; we don't have very much of a brand recognition, but we took what little brand recognition we had, and we kind of used that to move into some other, like the 1022 magazine and a few other areas, like bolt buffers and just little things. And so that's what we might do with the high point carbine as well, where we maybe get some momentum and just start doing some of the things that people are asking for. But as far as the 1022, right now we're kind of paused on that just because so much of our time and resources are dedicated to the high point lineup. And then after this, it's hard to say. We might revisit the 1022 world, or we might throw a curveball and do something kind of crazy again. I don't know. We'll see.
One last thing. In the meantime, where can we find more about HTA? I know you guys have a Facebook page,
Yeah.
but Twitter, Instagram, where can we find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have an Instagram, which I think is just Hightower Armory, I want to say. I don't honestly. I'm not the best when it comes to the Instagram, but no, we do update that periodically, and we'll probably be doing some more of that, especially once we get into the production. And then our Facebook page is under Hightower Armory, and that's probably the best place to go for updates. We generally check messages daily there. We try to get back to people as soon as we can. It's tough sometimes because, like I said, I'm the guy that does pretty much all the customer service and marketing and that kind of stuff. So if people have a question, it generally comes through me. So I get to it as soon as I can, when I can. If I'm not being called somewhere else, I spend a lot of time, like I said, with my suppliers, going over everything, making sure that it looks good. And then, our website too, www.hightowerarmory.com. That we update periodically. It's been a while, but we're hoping to have something new on there soon. In fact, the product page for the new MBS95 should be on there pretty soon here. So we'll be taking some pictures, updating the page to reflect the fact that they will be coming soon. So you can see all the specifications, the product information, all that should be up in the coming weeks here because we'll be getting ready for the actual release. And then, like I said, make sure that you sign up for the newsletter if you're interested in getting one. It's in the lower left-hand corner of our website. So that would be probably, if you're interested in getting one, that's the best way to make sure you can get one of the first ones.
So if you want one, your best option would be to go to hightowerarmory.com and sign up for the mailing list?
Exactly. Yep. The HTA newsletter, it's in the bottom left-hand corner of the website. And there's just, like I said, a little text bar. You just type in your email address. And I think there's a few more questions that it asks you just to make sure it's nothing too personal. It's just to make sure you're not a spammer or whatever. And so what we'll do is once let's say we build 100 stocks, we'll, email the first 100 people and we'll tell them, okay, we got a stock ready for you. Come check out Hightower Armory at this link and it'll bring you to the order page.
I honestly want to say thank you once again for allowing me to do this and just giving me information that I know I'm going to be using as a customer, but also to allow my channel to kind of relay some information for everybody that wants to get one or perhaps just have more questions about it. So again, Andy, I want to say thank you so much, man.
You need to thank me. Thank you. We're blown away by the fans that we have, and no, you're an absolute blessing, and I hope your fans enjoyed it. And now maybe, like I said, maybe I can be the boogeyman that takes the negative comments when people are wondering where the stock is. So it's because of me, everybody. I own it. It's not Alboa's fault. So.
Now we know for a fact that it is not canceled. It is coming out pretty soon. There you guys have it from Hightower Armory, passing on my channel, a little bit of anything. Again, thank you for stopping by, Andy, and to everybody else who's watching this video, please go support Andy and his mission to create a new market for this high point. Again, thank you to Andy for allowing me to do this interview, and you guys have a good one. Peace.
Thanks so much.